The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. It is election season, and FRC Media is trying to speak to as many candidates as possible that you will find on the November 5th ballot. There are a few races here regionally which are contested races. One of them is the race for County Commissioner. There are 3 candidates running for 2 seats. And I'm pleased to be joined by one of the candidates looking to make his first appearance on the County Commission. He is Gregory DeMelo. He's a current school committee member for the City of Taunton. Greg, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Keith, thank you so much for your invitation, and thank you to FRC TV because it's these important venues that bring the candidates into the homes of the folks that will be voting. We all know about national politics. This is a one-on-one with an opportunity to be in the living room of someone to better understand the candidate and their qualifications. So hats off to you and your team.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So first of all, for people who do not know who Gregory DeMelo is, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to run for County Commissioner.
Sure, so I'm no stranger to Fall River. Let's start there. I lived in Fall River for 6 years of my life. At the age of 30, I moved to Fall River, lived on Reading Street for 6 years. And then went on to move on to Taunton. But my family's owned a business on Columbia Street, known as Mello's Travel at the time. Now it's called Columbia Travel because my nephew took over. And that started in 1978. So with the 3 offices that were located in New Bedford, Fall River, and Taunton, I've always been very much present in the city of Fall River. And one other thing, my mom was born in Fall River in 1927, baptized right at St. Michael's Church. So I'm definitely tied to the City of Fall River. City of Fall River has been great to me. I come here many times, not only to participate in the different cultural activities, such as the Portuguese feast and others, and of course a lot of the social clubs, and most importantly, the Portuguese restaurants.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you've actually run for this office twice before. I believe we spoke before we got started, 2002 and 2004. Yes. What did you learn from those runs that you're taking into this race?
So in 2002 was my first run ever for any political office. So it was quite an endeavor. And I don't come from a political background family. So it was kind of like myself and my family members that were part of my team. And we started growing the campaign. And I was told by folks in the know that as long as I did well in New Bedford and Fall River and did very well, I didn't have to worry about the other 18 communities. Well, it worked till about 11:30 at night, that election night, because I was up by almost 4,000 votes. I won Fall River handily, I won New Bedford handily, but then all the small towns started reporting their results, and my almost 4,000 vote lead disappeared, and I lost by 805 votes out of 52,000 votes cast. So it was an experience that, of course, not knowing better, I didn't have any presence in the smaller towns. I literally just campaigned in Fall River, New Bedford for the whole time, and it worked, except until the other towns reported, and I eventually lost. The second time around was a little bit of a different, unique race. The first race was a one-on-one. The second race were 2 candidates, 2 very popular candidates running for re-election, and there was a 4th candidate in a race. So it kind of split the votes. So I didn't do very well the second time around. But what I've learned is this. I've learned that the voters really want to better understand the role and what you have to offer to that role that you're seeking to be elected to. And the one-on-ones I've had, I've met literally over 10,000 voters throughout the county. The county, for those folks at home, consists of the 4 cities, New Bedford, Fall River, Taunton, and Attleboro, and the 16 surrounding towns. So I can honestly say that I've shaked about 10,000 hands at different events, whether it's gathering signatures for nomination, at different cultural events, concerts at the gazebo in different towns. So I've been out there shaking those hands and giving my little staple, the emery board, which people love. So I've learned that people are interested. They ask me what a county commissioner does, and my first response is not much, but it can do so much more. And then I engage that voter and explain a little bit more about county commission, which I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's the voters' interest to better understand. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for being here. Thank you for telling us about yourself and putting a name to the face. So that's the first thing I get back from a voter, is that they're interested and they want to learn more about a candidate.
So let me just ask you, you brought it up, what are you telling voters in terms of what you would do differently as a county commissioner?
So education is near and dear to my heart. I consider myself a lifelong learner. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting from UMass Dartmouth, and then I went on to get a master's in management from Bridgewater State University, where I work, and then I went on to get a PhD from UMass Dartmouth in educational leadership. So education's at the forefront of my campaign, and that leads us to the Bristol County Aggie School. And the Bristol County Aggie School back in the day was not a school that was very popular. It was known as a farm type school, but now the programs have expanded tremendously. I brought an entire list with me, which is animal science, floriculture, arboriculture, and so forth and so on. But in the animal science division itself, veterinary medicine is taking off like gangbusters. And it's so important and critical that, of course, we all eat. Some of us are vegetarians or whatever they choose to be, but most of the population will eat meat, and we need to make sure those animals are healthy and in order to be a source of food for us in the future. So the care of the animals, making sure that they're well taken care of, all this stuff is important. And the student population there excels in MCAS scores. They're very, very committed students. The leadership there, the superintendent Derek Costa, I think is a great leader, and the team surrounding him, because it's just not one person, I've really put their heart and soul into educating these students. And I think it's capped at about 650 students right now. I hope to expand that. I hope to expand it in a variety of different ways. There's a lot of the non-traditional programs that can take place once that 2 o'clock bell rings. So we have these kids that are probably shut out because they couldn't get in to the regular enrollment, which is a lottery system, which I don't agree with, but that's another conversation for another day. But there's some after-school programs that we can incorporate students from the surrounding public schools to attend. So I'd like to expand that. And I have talked to a few folks that are involved with the Aggie School that think that's a great idea, because farming doesn't shut down at 2 o'clock either. So whether it's the animal science or traditional farming, diesel mechanic engine repairs, all of these pieces are part of this puzzle that make it a great institution to be involved with. And I want to make sure it's sustained. I want to support it with my management background. My management background in my day job is a director in the Division of Finance. So I'm part of almost a $300 million budget. As a school committee chairperson, myself and my colleagues have a $130 million budget that we oversee. And as a TMLP commissioner, which is the Taunton Municipal Lighting Plant, it's about a $100 million budget. So I can be very comfortable at the helm to oversee a $31 million budget of the Bristol County government.
Yeah. What about other finances within the county? I mean, the county oversees the buildings, many of the courthouses in Bristol County.
Yeah, I mean, with care and custody of the buildings are owned by the taxpayers, you and I. So we make sure that the roofs don't leak. We make sure that they're ADA accessible. We make sure that the ventilation is in proper status. There's no mold issues. Make sure it's suitable for humanity, in this case our employees and the public at large that go in to serve as jury duty. And finally, after so many years, the torch is finally going to be adorned on the top of the Superior Courthouse in Taunton, which was a work in progress. So I commend the present commissioners that have been on track of doing this, and definitely am excited that that's going to happen in the very near future. So besides the care and custody of the buildings, a lot of the revenues derived from D-tax, which when you buy and sell a house, right? And of course, that's managed by the Register of Deeds. There's 3 in Bristol County. And the Superior Courthouses, the registry buildings are all managed by the county commissioners.
So let me ask you, you've run in this race 2 times before, so you sort of know the demographics of the district. You've got, as you mentioned, the 4 cities, Attleboro, Taunton, New Bedford, Fall River. Then you get the small towns. There's a lot of diversity there. You've got, you mentioned about farming. There's some farming communities. There's some suburban communities around the cities. How do you try to get to know what the needs of those communities are, the diversity of those communities, and how would you approach that as the county commissioner?
Sure, it's very simple. They tell me. You may be in Dighton and Rehoboth, and they're a right-to-farm community. They don't want any more building in their community because it's taking away from the natural beauty and what the town was set out to be. It's basically a rural farming community. So they're very cautious of many initiatives that come into their towns. City of Taunton, for example, the zoning requirements were changed. It's now 10,000 square feet minimum to build a house. That's a postage stamp. So it's creating issues. And when you bring in these housing booms to cities like New Bedford and Fall River, which there's a shortage of, but we can address that as a county commissioner. I believe that, you know, the services are going to be, how should I say, so you build houses, 3-bedroom home, you're probably going to get 1 or 2 kids. And those kids are going to come to the public schools. So you may run short on space, classroom size, and being able to educate a student without having 30 or 40 kids in the classroom, which is not going to happen because there's collective bargaining agreements in place. As a school committee member, we, of course, have to negotiate that. So it's different issues in different towns and different cities. I can honestly tell you that people are concerned not only about housing, but their pocketbooks. You know, how can I, as a county commissioner, help relieve the burden of higher taxes, of higher grocery store costs, and so forth. And of course, I'll say straight out, I have no jurisdiction over that, but we can work collectively to make sure that we manage services such as trash disposal, recycling, green energy, okay? All these things can be done collectively as a county. And as some folks know, down south, county government is very, very strong. Up here, it's not as strong. Why? Because maybe we're not getting out there and knocking on doors and talking to select boards and to city councilors and getting them all under one roof. And yes, there's a Bristol County Advisory Board meeting once a year. Not everybody shows up. Don't ask me why, but they don't. It's all weighted by population, so if New Bedford and Fall River show up, they carry the vote. So it's getting out there, knocking on doors, getting people more involved, listening to the constituents to find out how we can help as a county government. One thing that's has not sat well with me, and you know, some people may think I shouldn't go there, but you know, we have 2 major hospitals in Bristol County that just went through tremendous turmoil. One's right here in Fall River. My hospital, St. Anne's. My doctor, my primary care is associated with Stewart Hospital, with St. Anne's. The other one's in Taunton. Not one conversation was had with the county commissioners regarding Stewart Hospital situation. I don't care if we have leaders in government such as state senators and state reps. County commissioner represents over 500,000 folks, 20 communities, more than a state senator and a state representative combined. So the conversation, we should have had a seat at the table to be part of that conversation to protect the interests of our citizens. The other one is the MBTA. Not one word has ever been said at county commissioners about the MBTA. Why the delay? Why this? Why not you know, option 1 versus option 2? All these things concern me, and I think, I believe as a county commissioner, I'll bring that conversation to the table.
But is the reason for that there's no real jurisdiction with the county? I mean, it's a state issue or a local issue by and large in terms of MBTA?
Well, the county seats in Taunton. You're coming through just about, I don't know, half the communities with the MBTA to get to New Bedford through Fall River or directly to Fall River. Why can't we have a seat at the table? Tell me why. And that's the question I would pose to the leaders on Beacon Hill to say, why can't we have a seat at the table? We represent these constituents. They want us at the table, and here we are. So pull up a chair.
Yeah. You mentioned something in one of your answers about the towns and the cities, you know, working closely together and how the commission can do that. Are you potentially exploring any ways for regionalization of services? Be it, you mentioned solid waste and the like, and how would you envision that if that's something you're
absolutely. I mean, we're all suffering from rusty water pipes. We're all suffering from trash. Fall River is going through a trash issue, right? Recycling, another issue. All these services can be consolidated under one roof. Not everything in one day, but there's baby steps to lead to the larger steps, okay? The county government could lead the charge. Over $100 million in ARPA dollars were distributed to Bristol County coffers, okay? I looked at the most recent allocation of funds, and I can honestly say those dollars were poorly spent. There could have been so much more done with $100 million. It's not $1 million, $100 million, if it was how should I say, more accessible. And I know everybody, and I don't want to discredit the commissioners. I mean, there's a process of asking for money, but there should have been more of a fiscal eye over the distribution of dollars. I know some programs that were supposed to be sustained for 3 years only lasted 1 year. I'm not going to get into the particulars, but it's public record, okay? Those programs, you know, why didn't we have an oversight over that? You know, just don't give out the money. There's got to be an oversight and a response to the allocation of dollars. As a school committee member in the city of Taunton, when we sign up with an outside agency, whether it's an after-school program or whatever it may be, we want accountability. We want to make sure that programs delivering the services to the population they're supposed to serve. So if they come back to us in 3 or 4 months and they can't provide us with a PowerPoint to explain, well, it's not working because of this reason, or it's working phenomenally because of this reason, and they just look at us, you know, staring us in the face and can't give us any numbers, I'm going to cut that program. I don't care, you know, who's going to upset. I'm going to cut that program. Accountability is important, and that's what I bring to the county commissioner: accountability.
We are just about to wrap up. I want to give you the opportunity to speak directly to the voters of Fall River and why they should consider you for county commissioner. And please, you can use that camera to do so.
Well, Keith, thank you once again for the opportunity to be in folks' homes. It's a very critical election. The state of the country is in total turmoil, as we know, but we're not here to talk about national politics. As the former Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, said, all politics is local. This is an opportunity to look into my background, my candidacy, to find out why you should vote. You can vote for 2, to be one of your 2 votes, how committed I am to the position, and what I can turn back to the citizens of Bristol County, specifically the citizens of Fall River. I am open, accessible, and always willing to listen, and of course take that knowledge and bring it to the board and explain the priorities of the constituents. So on or before November 5th, I respectfully ask for one of your 2 votes for Bristol County Commissioner, and thank you so much for allowing me to come into your homes.
All right, Gregory DeMelo, unenrolled candidate.
Unenrolled candidate,
for County Commissioner. Thank you for joining us, and all the best. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Keith.
All right, and thank you for watching here at FRC Media, and please make a point to vote on Tuesday, November 5th.